I'm so excited to share with you in one video my top 5 favorite flips that I have done so far. My name is Sarah, and I like to take things that are ugly and beat up or pulled out of the trash and make them beautiful again. Welcome to my channel. This first dresser I did a while ago, and like most pieces, I pulled this out of the trash and it was pretty beat up. Somebody had already tried to strip the paint, it looked like, and gave up. The top was pretty beat up. There was a drawer that was falling apart. It's going to take some work. It took a lot of scrubbing. I scrubbed as much off as I could, sanded off what I could, had to use stripper and strip off more layers, and then to get all the stripping agent off, I did a lot of scrubbing with a scouring pad and just getting all the fine details cleaned up. This took a lot of patience and elbow grease, and there was a lot of pink and red. The hardware was even gunked up with the red paint. I had a couple drawers that I needed to glue back together. One quite extensively came completely apart. After sanding the top and trying to bleach it multiple times with oxalic acid, I was not able to salvage it to be good enough to stain again. So I opted to paint the entire base of this desk. I was able to clean up the drawer fronts enough to get those nice and smooth and stain them. It was a kind of a cherry colored wood, so I stuck with a cherry colored stain. The drawer stops were missing on multiples of the drawers. This one took some work, but this turned out beautifully. While I would have preferred being able to stain the whole dresser and get this beautiful wood color throughout, I was okay with having to paint some of it. I was so glad to save some of that wood, and I just thought this was such a vibrant, beautiful piece. I kept the old hardware because I thought it brought that old charm back to it, and I just love how it turned out. This nightstand I also pulled out of the trash, but it was actually a pretty simple flip. It had some mildew, and I cleaned that up with some vinegar and washed the whole thing down and decided that I did not like the extra curvy parts on the front. So with my jigsaw, I cut those off and just made straight, smooth lines and sanded that down. I was able to sand the top of the nightstand and the drawer front. I didn't want to mess with paint stripper if I didn't need to. And the rest of the wood wasn't that nice, so I decided to paint it. Patched any holes, of course, before doing anything. I put a coat of primer on since it was black and I'm going to a light color of paint. I did a whitewash for the drawer front and the top of the nightstand, and then used this green color, which is called Carriage from Fusion Mineral Paint. It went on so nicely. I love this paint. I put on the hardware and this piece was done, and I was stunned at how nice it turned out. I did not expect this to look that great, and I was tickled pink with how this turned out. This third piece, this end table, also pulled out of the trash, which if I think about it, all 5 of these pieces I've pulled out of the trash. This one I thought was going to be simple, but it gave me a little bit of trouble. I cleaned it up real good, sanded a lot of stuff down, getting anything loose off. I, just like the last piece, cut extra frills off because I wanted to streamline the look a little more. I also changed the drawer from looking like it was 2 drawers to 1. I just wanted something nice and flat and smooth. I thought I was doing good, primed everything because it wasn't that great quality wood. Some of the stuff wasn't even real wood. I was like, I'm not messing with this. I'm just going to paint it. Got my coats of paint on, and then I realized I didn't clean it well enough, and there were some areas that were causing the paint to bubble. So I stripped the top off and didn't like it all green anyway. So I tried to do this like 2-tone wash, even though it wasn't on real wood, and tried to make it look kind of wood-like, and it turned out okay. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely better than that dark brown that it was before. I got a simple drawer pull that I wanted to add on the front, and you know, this piece shocked me as well, which is why it's in my top 5 favorites. This turned out so nice, especially when staged. It just looks like a cozy piece of furniture that you can add to your home. So I was really pleased with this. I hope you have enjoyed this one and have enjoyed all the other pieces so far. I was excited to find this desk in the trash because I had been wanting something similar to this for my own home. Now, I knew right away I did not want orange. So all of this was going to have to be changed by paint or stain. There were some scuffed up areas. The legs had some definite, chair wear on it or something. And the desktop had some scratches. I was able to sand most of the blemishes out of the desktop, which I was excited for because I wanted to stain this. I was not interested in sanding all of the legs, so I'm like, all right, no problem. We'll paint the base, stain the top. I am kicking myself a little bit because it didn't cross my mind to try to do the heat trick with swelling the wood with like a hot iron and a damp towel to get those scratches to kind of poof up and then try to sand it smooth. So those scratches are still seen in my finished product, and that was a bummer. But I think I'll remember that in my next project that has scratches. I pulled the keyboard tray out of and disassembled it to scuff sand that down to paint as well. I chose, as best I could, a non-orange stain, but I think it's still going to have some of an orangey look. I wanted more of a little brown. Picking stains is so challenging, I think. Now I am using that Carriage Fusion Mineral Paint again, though I did mix it with a slightly darker green, also from Fusion Mineral Paint. I was so glad to get so much use out of this. However, I did run out of paint. So not the whole piece got 2 coats, but most of it did. And then I did a top coat of poly, just a clear coat. I think I did 2, maybe 3 layers on the top of the desk. And then on the keyboard tray, I did a soft wax top coat on that because I wanted it to be a little more durable since it would get some use, but I didn't want to do a shiny poly top coat. Now, putting those glides back on took a minute, but I got it figured out. And I just cleaned up the hardware. I might have painted them, but I think I just cleaned it up and put it back on. The hardware was fine. And this piece turned out great. It looks so nice in my home and so ready to be used. It just cries out, come use me. But it's funny when I edit these videos, I don't use that desk at all. I have to hide in a quiet place in my room. So this desk actually doesn't get that much use, but it looks great. And I hope you think so too. I have saved the best for last, my favorite for last, and it was the hardest piece to flip for last. If you just saw my video last week that I posted with dresser compilation, this was part of that, but I still wanted to include it in this one because it is my favorite piece that I have flipped so far. Now there's a lot of chipping paint. There's stained wood that I had to use oxalic acid for multiple coats to try to get all this staining out. I had a drawer that was completely glued together wrong, and I had to take it apart, sand it down, glue it back together, and get that functioning normal because it wouldn't even fit inside the dresser. I had areas that I wanted to raw wood, so I hand sanded that. I had other areas that I used the orbital sander. As much as I could, I used that and used the hand sanding for any intricate areas that I needed. Again, I used Carriage House from Fusion Mineral Paint. I did 2 coats over the whole base. I did not paint the top as that was laminate, and I left it as is and just did a wax top coat. I painted all the hardware because I had to buy a extra piece. It was missing one and they did not match in color. The drawer that I had to assemble didn't have a drawer glide, had to put that in. And with all that and lots more that I didn't mention, this piece turned out beautifully. I just love it. I wish it fit my home decor and I would keep it, but it is for sale. And I hope you have enjoyed this compilation video of my favorite flips, and I hope to see you in future videos.